Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hi, welcome to the program. It's a Monday night, and you're tuned into the Jeff Gerstmann Show, and I'm your host on this Monday night. All you late night truckers out there trucking, we're gonna get to all your calls about all the things you've seen on the road, all the UFO experiences you've had, all the UAPs out there. Welcome. We're going all night here. We're going all night here. I'm your host for this week, Jeff Gerstmann, joined by Ben Pack. Ben, how's it going?
It's going great, man. We're out here. We're the night's just starting. You know, I gotta
tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. How many you got lights in the sky? What are you seeing?
I was over in Tucson. I was making a run down to Tucson to meet my guy. You know, my guy who gives me the stuff. And this was before I even got the stuff. But I saw 4 lights in the sky, and the weirdest part was this guy was like yelling at me. He's like, "There's 5 of them. There's 5 of the lights," and I'm like, "There's a 4." I can like take a picture on my phone and show you like there's 4 lights
and the whole thing. Was the 4 light? Were they doing 90-degree turns like they do? They see it. That's
like a box.
Great. Now you worked. Now you worked at Groom Lake. Now you were there at Area 51. You saw. Did you dissect the grays yourself, or did you see them happen?
I was part of the team that was in charge of the psychological evaluations of them.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
So we would sit them down and let them play GTA, and we would see how many civilians they would kill. And if they killed too many, we realized their species was hostile and they had to go back home.
Smart.
Or they were 13. And it was kind of up to to figure out like which one's which, you know.
Now wait a minute. Hang on. Now are you the reason why they sold all those blacklight posters of aliens smoking weed?
I'm not the reason why, but like, you know, I mean, it gets pretty lonely out there when you have maximum security access. There's not a lot of people you can talk to. Shared interests come into play.
Hey, unlimited resources to make whatever you need. Advanced alien technology for the most advanced blacklight posters known to man.
No, OLED levels of black on this black light.
Where is the OLED equivalent of the blacklight poster? Where's like Vanta blacklight posters? Where
you need a Vanta black poster, and you need one of those lights that they bought at the Bored Ape Festival that like is supposed to be used for disinfecting things that they were shooting at people's eyes.
Yes. Yeah. I think that anyone attending the Bored Ape Festival probably needed their eyes disinfected anyways from the shit that they've seen.
You mean looking at their bank accounts?
Yes, exactly. No, staring at NFTs for that long. It's like you need to burn that out somehow.
They lost the Bored Apes have lost 90% of their value, and they're still going for like $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to. We're all gonna make it. All of us aboard. You, I mean, you still have yours, right? I gave me mine for being famous.
I feel like
Eminem.
I feel like it's you. It was you. It was Fallon. Eminem. Yeah. I kind of feel like there is going to be a slow post-ironic creep of appreciation back up. So if you can get yourself an ape for like $400 or $500, I think in like 20 years you'll be sitting on something pretty there.
Eventually, see that is my justification for having a garage full of video games. Is like 20 years. You just wait another 20. This is gonna pay off. Trust me.
Billy Hatcher in the Giant Egg is gonna have this kind of postmodernism kind of reappreciation.
Yes, and you know, if I don't hang on to that copy, who will? I mean, it's not like it's readily available all over the internet or anything. You know, that might go away at any time. If I'm not hanging on to it, then who is?
Games.
Yeah,
Nintendo's cracking down on this though.
You get a copy of Swiss, they're gonna come get you. They're gonna kick down your door.
I'm gonna come get you if you get a copy of that.
Yeah, Wario's gonna kick down your door and wah. I like the idea of Wario as their copyright enforcement team.
Yeah, he just shows up. He's not even doing any of the like dirty work. He's like there with a clipboard, and he's got his team to get their hands dirty. But
it's like, he could break down the door with his shoulder. It's not a problem for him, but he doesn't like to have to do that.
No, he's getting a little bit older. He's got a family that he has to think about, and that's right. He's there as kind of like I've been in this shit for 20, 30 years. Like,
the shit I've seen.
Time.
Yeah.
I
was there when we busted Lick Sang for all the Game Boy copiers back in the day. Wow. It was like it's this whole thing. So what have you been up to? It's been an eventful weekend for you, I guess, like going from, what you've, like playing some Counter-Strike 2 to, I guess my understanding is that as of an hour ago, you're the new interim CEO of OpenAI.
That's right. We are, we're really happy to announce ChatGPT Volume 5, the fifth element. I'm basing it on my favorite movie.
That's great.
I think it's freaking epic. I think it's beast mode. I fucking love science. And we're gonna really we've been hearing what people are saying about being worried about AI, being concerned about the implication, the loss of careers for creative types, and we are here to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't none of this shit's real. We're in a simulation, so just don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't even worry, just chill.
Just burn one, man, and it'll be fine.
Just ask our bot what to do.
Yeah. What does the bot's gonna say, man? What if you got hella high?
My bot.
That's because I've typed that into the internet enough times that it's guaranteed that any AI chatbot's going to say that. I've been seeding that around the internet.
There's just a blip on a map. They have all these different filters of like the types of content that are being, and there's just this huge green dot in California.
Exactly. Like I'm making it happen. That's like I'm the Joker-esque figure that is like poisoning the town's water with LSD. Only it's poisoning the chatbot with weed talk.
The chatbot who is, I guess that makes me Batman as the new CEO.
Yes, exactly. In this scenario, we are definitely at odds. Unless you're into it. I mean,
maybe this is the time where Batman realizes that the Joker had some pretty good points and some pretty interesting things to say about society.
Yes, exactly. And then we ran Batman off of Blue Sky for his views. Him and Jake Tapper, get out, the fuck out.
I spent 6 months in Arkham for posting my my Blue Sky codes to Twitter. People are like, "Oh, you can't just put them out there. Put them in jail with the Killer Croc and Calendar Man."
Yep, we're gonna lock you up. I hereby sentence you to 5 Fat Cock Fridays.
I hereby sentence you to open the "What's Hot on Blue Sky" tab in public.
Let's look at the What's Hot Classic feed. What's gotten over 12 likes? Oh my.
Surely if I scroll down, I'll be, every hole. Interesting.
All of them. Why wouldn't you at that point? It's Friday. It's Famicom Friday.
Oh no.
Why do you think I play Nintendo games on Fridays? This is why. It's been too long, Ben. What have you been getting into? What's keeping you busy these days?
It's been like a period of a lot of change. I've kind of been wearing many hats. I'm wearing one right now. But this is one of the ones I was talking about.
Holy shit.
I've just been kind of like popping around, doing a little bit here, a little bit there. I just want to shout out Netrunner. I've been working a little bit with the folks at Null Signal who are working on continuing to keep Netrunner alive. It's really cool working behind the scenes on like one of my favorite games, card games. So like, something I'm like only familiar with as an enthusiast. Like, to say I have like a lot of insight about the video game industry wouldn't be true, but like I an ounce more than knowing anything about the traditional board game publishing world and like learning about the supply chain and like kind of and dealing with the like working with a global team of like it's all volunteer based. We're all kind of out there for the love of the game, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out. We just put out a pack I don't know, a month or so ago, and got another one coming soon.
Nice. Where do people go? What do you type Netrunner into a web
Null
browser?
Signal Games. We've got guides on how to get started. You can print. The nice thing about it is like you can print all the cards from home. Everything's totally tournament legal. You don't have to buy a thing. You can just check out the game and start playing online like within a day if you're interested. But yeah, man, I've been working. I've been out there coding. I've been out there like working on some apps. Maybe cranking out a little video game behind the scenes that may or may not ever see the light of day. But yeah, I'm just out. You know, I turned 34 about a month ago.
Yeah,
and I was always it was you know, once you hit 30, it feels like from here on out, most of the birthdays are going to feel the same. Like maybe 40, you'll feel a little different, and 50 would feel a little different. But like, everything in between kind of mushes together.
It's like, what is it? You know, it's not like like, oh, I can rent a car now. It's like, what's next? 30, like you can like 30. Was it 35? You can run for president. Is that the last one?
Ooh, I've got stuff going on. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I was born in the Bahamas.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it every time.
But I just like it was hitting this point of like I'm coming up on my mid-30s. There's so many things in my life that I've wanted to try, and I figured like this was a good point to just start messing around. And because of that, I've been a little tapped out on games, playing them. Just been so busy. This year, I've touched a lot of things. I just didn't have a ton of time to like really dive in. The only stuff other than what we'll talk about today was playing through Baldur's Gate,
right,
in a haze, like it basically like 2 weeks. It came out 2 weeks after I left my last full-time job, so I just had this like chance to really like, okay, before I like do anything actually productive, let me just spend the next 120 hours of my life looking at this big druid guy's ass.
Did you fuck the bear?
He was down. He wanted to have a threesome with me and my demon wife, but but then I brought it back to the wife, and she was like, "Oh well, if you're interested, that's something you can go pursue on your own. Maybe it's not something I want to be." She was very understanding, but at that point, I was just like, "Nah,
you made it weird.
Let's just go out and get spaghetti."
Yeah,
there's a really sweet moment. We're not going to talk about this game, but I just want to shout out. There's like one of the sweetest moments I've ever had in a game was in Baldur's Gate 3, where it's the third act, and you can romance one of the characters, the kind of like the Karlach, the big red lady, and like she's got a very interesting story and everything. And then you just have this chance to go out and have dinner. And you go to an inn, and there's like a waiter who's kind of a jerk, and he like messes up your order, and you have to like figure out what you're gonna say or do, and you just go and walk and talk and say, and that's like the whole thing. And I was just like, fucking man, video games are so cool, because I was just like, I just was on YouTube for an hour and a half looking up like builds, and like because I kind of got stuck, and I was like, oh, I need to respec some characters and just do all this stuff. And then that happened, and I was just like, fucking games, man. There's not shit like that in any other medium, you know?
Yeah, no, you don't really get that. I mean, like, what's that? That's like the diner scene with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat.
You want to get some coffee?
Yeah, exactly. It's the closest, the only analogy I can think of.
Totally.
Yeah. Now, I wish I got into Baldur's Gate 3. I tried it, and it was just like I'm either just not I don't think I'm in the right frame of mind for that type of game anymore. Like that's the shit I grew up on, you know, like literally licensed D&D video games and such. But I don't know. At some point, I think it's just like, I don't know that I can bring myself to spend the 120 hours or whatever it was to do this. Like, I like bopping from thing to thing a little too much.
Absolutely. It's so systems dense, and like really you can spend so much time like doing these perfect turns. Like even if you're not trying to play optimally, it's really rich and dense, and it's a game you really have to like take it for all it's worth, the good and the bad. Like I have a lot of problems with that game. I still loved it, but like it's really something that could like turn you. If you're not locked in, you're just not gonna vibe
Totally.
with it.
Yeah. That's I think where I got with it. Like I literally was getting to like it was like the third or fourth combat that I'd gotten into, and I was just like, dude, I so don't want to do this right now. I don't want to jam these characters through this choke point and get to the other side and hit these guys. Like no one has enough hit points for me to just slob my way through this.
Right.
Like I have to think, and that's fine. I do like thinking sometimes, but I just was not prepared for that type of action right now. So it really just kind of it fell away pretty fast. But it's an amazing achievement. Like that's, you know, from what I've seen about it and talking to not just you, but you know, a handful of other people about their time with it. Like it's awesome that they got the opportunity to make that thing, you know?
Yeah. And it sounds like I kind of blitzed through it, and it was really quite buggy early on, but it sounds like at this point with patches and post game support, it's kind of gotten to a much more stable place, which is what I've heard about a lot of. I played Divinity 2, Original Sin 2, much after the fact. So I didn't play it at launch, but I heard that game was a similar, like very buggy, very rough launch that they kind of refined over like a year.
Yeah, and I mean they did the whole early access thing too, so you know it's just crazy that they were able to do all that stuff. You've been playing a bunch of Super Mario Wonder. I think you've probably played more of it. So that's like I'm on the other side of stuff where like we just had this baby, and you know then now everyone's sick, and now everyone is sick again, and that's why I'm in the garage and we're doing this at night instead of on a normal Tuesday morning, is because the kids are. My daughter got sick again today, so everyone's freaking out. But
that's why I'm here. You're just like I'm leaning into the chaos, full-fledged.
Yes, just emerging from the darkness, as it were,
rising up like Emperor Harark in Dune, coming out of that like pit black bath. It's like I kind of got a little vibe of him looking
a little bit, you know. But it's been hard for me to put major time into anything over the last like few months here just because of how stuff has been going. So like I'm still chipping away at Alan Wake 2 and now I downloaded Super Mario RPG and I'm like, this looks incredible. I need to play some more of this. But Super Mario Wonder, I did get a handful of levels in, and I've been trying to make my way back to that. You and I talked a little bit about that. Seems like you like it. I like it, but
I do like it. I think at this point, it is probably my fourth favorite Mario game.
So that's ahead of Mario Teaches Typing.
Yep. Well, I like that one, but I'm more of a Mario's Missing guy.
Okay, sure.
If you're comparing the two, like I feel like if you can only take one educational Mario game in your top three. I think otherwise it's a little masturbatory.
So for fourth best, so. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you think it's not better than Super Mario World.
I do not think that. I think this game is probably the most spiritual sequel to that game that we've ever gotten from a 2D Mario. But I do not think it is better than that
game. Yeah. All right. I'm trying to guess the other ones here.
These aren't nothing too wild here. Pretty standard takes, I think.
You think it's not better than Super Mario Brothers 3?
That is correct. I think I think I would put that at number 3.
And then I'm going to say Mario 64.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. A game that I've definitely played less than those other ones, but anytime I revisit it, I'm just like, oh yeah, God, they nailed it. Like for what that game needed to be, it is like perfect.
And landmark achievement in video gaming, you know, when they made that thing. I mean, it's no Croc. I mean, if we want to talk about originating the 3D platformer, I mean, we're talking about Croc.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, you know, it's the same thing as why Mystical Ninja Starry Goemon inspired Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Like,
exactly.
There's always a there's always a beautiful woman standing behind a guy.
Yep. And a beautiful creep with Goemon
inching his way along.
Ugh, disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah, I've finished Mario Wonder. I just booted it up a couple hours ago to kind of like pop in some random levels and remind myself. And I thought I had everything unlocked, but apparently there's one medal. There's like various medals for achieving everything. Like beating the game gives you a medal. Getting all the purple coins give you a medal. There's one for getting all the standees.
Sure.
I was like, I have like 10 more that I need to buy or whatever, but I just don't have enough coins. Anyways, outside of that, like I've fully finished the game, and I think it is just a really like I think it's easily the best 2D Mario since that 3D or world and 3 era of the Super Nintendo.
Cool.
And I like those. I like the new Super Mario Bros. Games just fine. But they were like missing something, you know?
I think those games were fine when they came out, but they did not age super well. I think, you know, when you are able to get some distance from them and reflect on them a little bit, it's like, every time I want to go back to them and play them, it's like I get one level in and go, fuck, no, I'm not going to, like, am I crazy? Like, are you crazy? I'm not going to go and play through this one again. Whereas like World, I will return to, not yearly, but you know, every couple of years I'll find myself playing through significant chunks of that game, or going like, what are the weird ROM hacks out there, like with all the levels that people have made, and whatever else is happening out there, like what the vanilla Super Mario Brothers competition ROM hack 9 or something. And I played it and I'm like, oh, all these levels are way too fucking hard. Like, yeah, they're vanilla, but like they're ridiculous. Like, come on.
That's the only Super Mario World, the only game I ever have had a registered speedrun of. Did a stream. I think it was. I was trying to think about it the other day. I think it was me, the rare me, just me and Matt Rory on a couch stream where I was trying to speedrun it. I think I got in the top 500 at the time, which I was like fairly impressed by, because I had never like practiced. I mean, I played it a million times, so I practiced it in that sense, but I never practiced like speed running it. I was just like, I want to play this as fast as I can. But yeah, I mean, I think so. Not to, I guess, start on a negative note, but that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Good. Yes.
I don't have many problems with Super Mario Wonder. I think it is a great game. And some of my problems are more of a problem with how video games work now. But part of me was so bummed out that we are not going to get what you were just talking about with Super Mario Wonder. There's going to be no like, or at least it's going to be a lot more inaccessible to do your weird ROM hack of Super Mario Wonder. There's not going to be the kind of community that formed with World, which like Nintendo's fine about. They don't want that community. They want control of their IP, right? Like that's I mean, they're
fine with it up to a point. Like, they're never going to be fine with it. But it's like, in the U.S., no one is ever going to rat them out. But if Japan hears about this, we have to act like we've never heard about it, okay? Because like, Jesus.
But that's just an issue with modern gaming. But it was something that was kind of in the back of my mind as I played this, specifically playing this with the idea in my head, like, I love platformers. I try to play all the good platformers, and a lot of modern indie platformers are really focused in the kind of like Celeste model of things, where like really tight controls, really fun, but a definite curve of escalating difficulty. And it's like definitely like by the end you are playing some hard ass stuff, and then there's even more secret worlds that are like truly for the real fucked up people who just really want to exploit the game to its maximum. And I had to give up, and I have to acknowledge, like, I didn't come into this game expecting it to like get crazy hard by the end, because
the last, I mean, none of the new games, or you know, they've saved all the difficulty for the very, very, very end, and even then
there's like a secret world with maybe a few levels, and you know, this game does have stuff beyond the initial world. Like every world has like a secret level that you can access, and there's a big little floating thing in the sky for it. And I liked all of that. Like, but once I kind of came to terms with like, that's just not what they're about anymore. Nintendo, like, that's not what they're about with their games. I had a really good time with it.
Yeah, it's really great. Like, I'm glad that I'm able to kind of play it slow and savor it a bit, because it's a game that it seems like it would be very easy to just blast through it and be like, all right, whatever. But being able to really spend some time with it and be like, man, this thing is just, it's incredible. Like, I didn't come out of it going like thinking about ROM hacks specifically, but though you know, some of that stuff is busted wide open in a way that might, we'll see. But I thought more of, man, it would be really cool if they made another good Super Mario Maker. And included the Wonder stuff in it, if that's even, because the Wonder stuff is so, some of it feels so bespoke, that I guess you could just duplicate that stuff, but yeah, it'd be neat to see something like that.
I think
go
ahead.
With Wonder, represented there along with the other games, but now.
Right.
That only works for me if this patent going around of the next Switch. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of this. It looks like it has two screens, and it's like one slides over the other, and so it's like a tablet, but then it's a game system or whatever. And I don't think that doesn't seem likely that they'll necessarily do that. But if they did that, then you could have play on one screen, create on the other, and that was what the Wii U did so well that Mario Maker 2 did not do very well on the Switch. Like creating levels in Mario Maker 2 was laborious, a real pain in the ass, compared to how it was on the Wii U. It's the only thing I could probably sit there and point at and be like, this is a thing the Wii U did better than anything else because of its weird bullshit.
It was like one of the it was like that and the like Sheikah Slate from Breath of the Wild, where you could like, and it was like, it's Nintendo like first party shit, because they're the ones who are willing to think outside of the box and get really creative and weird with it, and not the like studios creating third party stuff that's like, well, I need to fucking do a thing for another screen. Like, fuck that.
Right.
We'll put
like,
the inventory down there.
We'll put life bars on there. I don't know. Like, what do we, we'll put a tap button, and if you tap the button here, Johnny Cage hits the guy's head off. I don't know. Fuck. And they look like stick figures now because we're even further behind.
I think you were hitting on a kind of my thoughts about the game earlier when you brought up the Wonder stuff, specifically the Wonder Seed stuff. Like it could have so easily been a gimmick. It could have so easily been something that's just like, we have this weird kind of like thing that changes the levels, and sometimes you're this and sometimes you're that, and it is that. But what they did was they did that, and none of them feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, they're like a little superfluous, like, oh, okay, or like it's brief, like sometimes it lasts for like a few seconds. You're like, oh, that's kind of weird, and I guess kind of cool. But none of them are like, I never wanted to dodge a Wonder. No, not the seeds. The flower turns
flowers.
Yeah, I never wanted to like dodge a flower. I was always like excited to see what the new thing was going to be, because all of them were so well designed in a game that itself was already really well designed. Like the mechanics of the game are great. Like it feels great. The physics feel great. It looks incredible. The stuff they've been doing with the animation in this game, like every character having bespoke animations for going down pipes and multiple ones. Like I was playing as Luigi, and I don't know if everyone has this, but like he'll go through the pipe and his hat will fly off, and you'll see his arm reach back out of the pipe and grab the hat, and just like, just the stuff like that is really great. I watched a video, kind of talking about the animation of it. I wish I could remember who it was by, but they were talking about how back in the NES. Miyamoto and the team made Mario's nose really big, so you could always tell where he was looking. So like if he was looking to the left, you see his big old nose pointing to the left, and vice versa. And because of how weird 3D is now, they tried just doing them where he looks to the left or right, and it just didn't look right. And so now you always have a kind of 3/4 view of Mario's face when he's running. So it looks like he's running towards you, kind of, or away from you. And because of that, they can like design the world around this where it just feels so fluid. Like it does the Super Mario World thing right, of like when you're zooming on a level, you can just like, beat these levels first time. If you understand the mechanics of Mario and you've been playing them for years, like you can very easily beat this game without dying that much. And that, I think that's great. Like,
I think like leveraging that stuff, I think makes a ton of sense, and it gets its mileage out of like having interesting secrets and things like the first time I missed a seed, I had to make some hard decisions about like, am I going to go back and obsess over all this shit right now, or am I going to just like make my way through the game and then 100% it later, or think about 100%ing it later. And I decided to be okay with missing shit. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do this now. and move on now, and there'll be time for this stuff later. That's
Yeah,
how I did Mario
was
World when I
the
first
same
played
way.
it. Like that's, when that game first came out, like I didn't really even think about the secret stuff. You'd find a couple here and there almost by mistake, but it wasn't something I obsessed over. I think until like I really got I think even finishing that game, it wasn't always immediately clear just how cool the secret exits really were.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
I remember feeling like I had stumbled into something that that shouldn't be in there, right? Like
right.
it's that feeling of like I broke the game. Like
Yeah.
something is wrong. Like I shouldn't be able to be
It was
doing
like I
this.
flew under the fucking goalpost and then
Yeah.
kept going, and like what? And then there's a thing here, and yeah, that stuff's really playful. I think when Mario World did it back then. But
And
yeah,
Mario Wonder has its share of that stuff, and
yeah,
it's just really well. I remember the moment where it clicked. I don't know if you got to this level, but the moment where I was like, okay, this is fucking incredible, was the one where you get the flower and then suddenly you're running
yeah,
horizontally on the cave wall from
yep,
like a top
yeah. When
down.
all of a sudden it's like it went like super contra on
Yes,
you. It went, and you're just like, oh,
exactly.
it's a top down game for like a little bit here. That I did not get too much further past that. So that's kind of, I got to that and was like fucking blown away.
Yeah,
And there was another one where it's like it's an underwater level and the water becomes air and the air becomes water. And I thought, oh,
yeah,
that's good. You see that coming a little bit and you go, I bet they could do something like this. But like the top down thing is fucking bananas, man. Just yeah, delightful, like just a wonderful experience, as they say. Um, let's
Oh,
take a quick
I get it.
break, and then yeah, see, thank you.
Wonderful.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about Counter-Strike 2 and some this new Atari that came out. Atari put out this new video game platform on the scene. And then we'll
It's
talk.
a huge episode for what's old is new again.
Yeah, basically. All right, we'll be back in a sec. Hang tight. Traditional bed sheets, they get gross. Did you know that they can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat? That can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses, and it's just gross. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. How do they do it? Well, it's got self-cooling properties for better quality sleep. They do it with silver. By infusing silver into these fabrics, and that was inspired by NASA, by the way, these sheets stay cleaner longer, and they're also thermoregulating, designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. That's silver. It helps prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than other sheets. So, keeps the stink out of them. And they're comfortable too. I mean, hey, if the silver was rubbing against your skin, that'd be crazy, right? No. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of some other luxury brands, and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. They're the perfect holiday gift for your spouse, friends, family. Who doesn't want to get better sleep and luxurious feeling bed sheets? And since these come with 3 free towels, you get 2 gifts in one, just in time for the holidays. It's designed for your skin. Stop sleeping on bacteria. It can clog your pores. It can cause breakouts, acne. Ugh. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff to try it today, or gift it to someone special this holiday season. And here's a special deal for you. Save over 40% off. And if you use the promo code Jeff at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff and use the code Jeff to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Jeff to treat yourself, a friend, or loved one this holiday season. And we're back. Can you tell that I recorded the ad in a room where a child who is not sleeping well sleeps directly above me?
Yes, because you had the love of a parent wanting the ultimate comfort shining through.
That's yes, that is my ultimate goal. Comfortable children. That's my motto. That's my put that on. That's
Which was weird before you had kids, but like
hey,
now it makes sense.
You know what? I'm tired of these uncomfortable kids. And I'm going to do something about it, and that's why I want your vote. So go get out, rock the polls this Christmas for the
Pokemon
Christmas.
rock.
That's right.
Polls.
That's right. Get the hot dog on a stick out of your throat and go vote. Counter-Strike 2.
They made a second.
I am excited to talk to you about Counter-Strike 2. This is when Counter-Strike 2 came out. I was like, I gotta fucking figure out what the fuck Ben is doing because I bet he's playing Counter-Strike 2.
I mean, fucking Dota's dead. So
is it? The international just happened. I feel like I didn't, and because I don't really look at Twitter anymore, like very often. So maybe there was a bunch of fucking people going nuts for it there. Why don't I look at Twitter anymore?
You look at Twitter.
I don't know. It's fucking disgusting. I don't know. It's a fucking.
Wait, it got worse?
Yeah. In fact, I think over the last like 40, it's probably in the process. Like something's probably happening right now.
It'd be so funny to go back to like 2018 and just like think about like, because like one of the most fun things to do about Twitter was complain about Twitter because like Jack was a doofus dumbass. He wasn't like. Obviously we learned that it could get a lot worse, but like it was so fun to be like, oh, the management here is awful. Like this site's probably doing harm to society, but like it's still a little fun and goofy. But this site sucks, right, everyone? Yeah, and
like this site is free.
Think about how much worse it could have gotten. Like.
It's like, well, if you think that's bad, what if the first reply to every meaningful tweet was someone going, that's interesting, almost like this crypto that I'm linking you to. Like, it's just like
or a meme they found on Reddit in 2016.
Right. Yes. Sometimes those are actual humans, but like I get a lot of, and if you want to see some, I think I might have said this a couple of weeks ago, but if you want to see a little bit of pornography, go look at replies to my tweets. Because you'll see two things: links to crypto scams and occasionally some boobs.
Yeah,
you gotta take the good with the bad.
Like take the ride, or like
dream
your desire.
Look out for the cream, and then it's like onlyfans.com. So it's fucking weird, man. It's not even like they're not even like real ad. They're not Twitter ads. It's just spam.
Yeah.
And so between that and then like people that are paying for subscriptions having their replies floated to the top, and you can just see like, wow, these are like it's a joke, right? People are like, oh, and they're always the worst. But sometimes you look at it and you go, oh no, they kind of are. It's weird.
My favorite is on the ones that are like on like discussing film or like other websites, because like it's going to attract like stuff about Marvel people replying. It's always like really funny. But my favorite was one I saw yesterday. It was talking about the creative team behind Wallace and Gromit is like running out of clay. Like their clay supplier shut down, and so they're like, can we make any more movies? And like the second reply was, they should get a new supplier of clay.
And you know what? I think they did. They posted something saying, hey, don't worry. We've got plenty of clay for years to come.
Oh my God. That guy solved it, actually. I take it back. Blue checks are genius.
That guy? Elon Musk. Now, what do you think about him, huh? It's not so dumb now, is he?
I think I would want to hang out with him in case he wants to buy me a horse.
He's either going to buy you a horse or a whole lot of fucking ketamine. I just like saying it the British way. I don't know.
That is how they say it, isn't it? Because they say vitamin, right? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, I need to go to some raves in Great Britain.
Yes. Old Blighty. That's what they call it now. They started calling it that again. Counter-Strike 2. I when it came out, I fired it up and I was like, this smoke looks cool, but it turns out I don't like Counter-Strike. I only like Arms Race, or I guess a gun game, but they call it Arms Race. Or some of the other, more esoteric kind of community things. And so regular ass Counter-Strike,
they finally put community servers up
Right.
As of like a couple weeks ago, which was nice. I played the most Counter-Strike in my life. I played was pre-Source, because I was playing like in high school. Was there? I was trying to remember this. Was there one between 1.6 and Source, or was it that
I mean, they probably patched it after
Yeah.
1.6, I'm guessing, but I don't remember.
That's the one that just sticks in my mind because it's the one that everyone was nostalgic
Of course,
for
yeah.
when I was playing.
Yeah.
But yeah. I played like and played
Condition
back
Zero. That's yes.
Condition
That
Zero. Yeah. You know, when I say I played it, it was I could go, oh my god, I can buy a Negev and sit in this hallway and go, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the nuance between the M4 and the AK, and you know about smoke lineups and all of that stuff. But I've been playing quite a bit recently with some of my like old Dota friends and some other folks. Some people who are moving over from Valorant because they couldn't stand Valorant, but they were playing it because it was popular. You know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I feel like there must be some decent percentage of the Valorant player base at some point that was like, oh, Counter-Strike 2 is out. We're going to go back to that because it's not magic.
Yeah. And it is, I say as somebody who tried to learn Valorant, like it's so much easier to learn Counter-Strike. I maybe that's not right to say. I will say the entry is much lower than it is for Valorant because you don't have all of these characters. You don't have to learn these abilities. You're not like, why is my screen covered in blue goop? Like,
yeah,
just there's a million.
I
things
ask that every day.
It's because you have to wipe it off from yesterday, Jeff. I keep telling you, you have to wipe.
I will never wipe off the blue goop. That is my promise to you.
Okay, well then your screen's going to be coated, and that's why you just have to accept that.
All right, fine.
But I think that the skill ceiling is probably higher in CS because these maps are very much designed to the point of like this ledge is like pixels away from being. It's hard to put into words. Basically, I think that Counter-Strike's map design, since it's based in reality, they can do a lot more stuff where like we put a sign here and this sign obfuscates this thing. Valorant's maps are very much like kind of literal hallways with like boxes, and there's some things obscuring stuff, but CS being in the real world makes it so that like angles feel a lot more organic. What's that?
No, nothing.
It's, you know, learning Counter-Strike and trying to like be good at Counter-Strike. What I thought going in was like, I just have to like get really good at aiming my gun. And it's surprising, even in my, you know, 30s, which like for a reaction shooter means like I'm 80. But like even in my 30s,
you're done. You're wrapped up. This is why I drink those energy drinks every day. It's because it keeps like I twitch even when I don't want to. So
you're clicking, you're like you're practicing your AD strifing just in your sleep.
Yes. I am always strifed up, and I mean, you know, I use it to play RTS games. You know, I keep my APMs up. Most of the A's are like, but you know, it's still a really high number.
Right. How many of your actions per minute are intrusive thoughts?
Oh, I'm going to say 85% of them are just like, they're coming to get you. They know you have something to lose now.
They do. I mean, they do. And they're right. They're right about it.
Yeah.
They should. Yeah, you know, but like the thing I'm finding out is you spend enough time in like I'll play a lot of deathmatch just to like kind of like practice, and that's basically, you know, 32 players are just spawning on the map. There's team kills, everything's fine. Just shoot guys.
Yeah.
And you play enough of that, and you just really like practice it. You get to a point where like my headshot percent accuracy is fairly high. It's the other stuff that's really hard to learn. It's movement. It's positioning, it's, you know, how to use your utilities effectively, where to smoke, where to flash, like when you're clearing a site, like what are everyone's roles? It's murky, but like the first one in has to like entry frag, right? If you're first one in, you're going to go best case scenario, usually you go trade. You go like kill somebody, and then they swarm on you. You take them out, and everyone else cleans up. Like,
Yeah.
But how do you clean up? Like, where do you move? You have to watch your teammates' movements. I'm lucky enough to be playing pretty much exclusively with like 4 or 5 stacks, so I don't have to deal with too many randoms.
Yeah.
The few times CS always had a bad reputation for being toxic.
Yes.
But my God, was I shocked? Even coming from Dota.
I was gonna say, could it possibly be any worse than Dota? But
I've definitely heard more slurs in this game than any other one I've played. Which like, I don't play Call of Duty, so I won't say like it is hands down probably the highest percentage of games out there.
I don't hear a lot. So I'd play I'm playing far less so far this year because yuck. But I would say over the last few years of Call of Duty, just percentage of people talking at all is way down. And the only time I feel like you ever hear a quantity of people on mic is at launch, because those people just bought the game and they haven't given up yet. And so that's when you hear all your good like low battery smoke alarm. Or like people that don't realize the mic is on. Like I literally heard someone last week that I'm pretty sure was breaking up with their girlfriend, and didn't give a it was like he was cold about it, and just like that sort of stuff where you're like,
I mean, he was in the middle of executing.
Exactly. It's like people that don't realize that, by the way, the PlayStation 5 controller is a microphone. It is a mic. It's on by default. It's there. It's you when you're holding it. You have to turn that thing off, motherfucker. Come on. So it's like people that don't know that.
Yeah.
And
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I suppose on average, the average Call of Duty player is just like a relatively normal guy, right? Like the mock-up of. I feel like the mock-up of an average Counter-Strike player probably leans a little more of a freak.
Yeah, definitely scum.
Yeah, but like it's cool. It is really cool trying to learn it for the first time. The stuff that makes it, I'm not a great person to ask about the stuff that makes it 2, right? Because they haven't added really the thing that they added is their sub-tick system.
Yeah.
And we were kind of chatting about it a little bit, and it really does feel, I haven't seen a lot of other people like talk about it in this way, but it does kind of feel like they invented rollback netcode for shooters.
Right.
Because for anyone who doesn't work, I'd been playing the game for weeks before I even like really understood this. But from what I understand is, so before in Counter-Strike, they would measure everything in ticks, like, and a tick would be whatever, like 100th of a second.
Yeah, and I feel like the tick rate conversation kicks up with games here and there. I know there was a big conversation about Overwatch's tick rate and how it was too low for esports because it just didn't have as many times where it was measuring movement and changes and stuff for people that were lining up shots and that sort of stuff.
Right. So each tick is a chance for an action to be registered. So like it's usually like you're moving, like moved left will whatever an inch will be 1 tick. Move left will be on the next tick, or shoot or whatever. And it worked really well for a really long time. But then Valve kind of approached this as like, it doesn't make sense because sometimes it's literally milliseconds will make a difference, right? Like sometimes something happens between ticks. Like I shoot first and you move just like 1 millisecond after I move, but they get registered to the same tick because they just get registered to the next tick. And so they created a sub-tick system where basically there's an infinite number of ticks.
Like time itself.
Like time itself. There's an infinite amount of it. Ahead of us and behind us, and in between all actions. So wear that on your head and smoke it.
This podcast is infinitely long, is what I'm hearing.
I hope not. I have to go to bed. I gotta go house sit tomorrow. Oh. Whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Sit in someone else's house. It's fine.
It's gonna smell different.
You sit in there and it's like, it smells weird in here, and this Roku is garbage.
I am gonna straight up. I don't want to reveal too much about where I'm going, but the first thing I'm doing is turning off motion smoothing on a TV that I've seen it on a lot.
Mine just turned it back on automatically,
Ah!
and I had to go turn it off again. Every 6 months, these LGs that I have just randomly, for one reason or another, to be like, hey, you should, the way you have it set up is going to lead to eye strain. Do you want to turn it to be like a better, more accurate color? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And then it says like, and by the way, we turn on motion smoothing, motherfucker. And I'm like, you cocksucker.
Just like them doing the menu on the screen while you hear somebody laughing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to turn that off. But yeah, it's basically so like right. So now in a game of Counter-Strike, what it does is it looks at every subtick before resolving them. So you get some instances where it looks like you totally shot a guy, and on your screen you did shoot the guy, but in reality, because of how servers work for multiplayer games, you didn't shoot the guy. And the game will now. So that's the part. So Valve put out like an official video kind of talking about this. It's short and sweet, but they kind of gloss over this last part of like, and so now we could like take these subticks and make sure you see what actually happens. That's the part I'm a little more interested in, and probably the part that they are like obviously keeping secret because it's like, you know, a huge accomplishment and like not something they want every other shooter to necessarily steal. Though I'm sure for the shooters in general, it's good if the netcode gets better, just like how rollback made fighting games better across the board.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, and like I said, I'm not seasoned enough to kind of know if it feels good. I know a lot of the pros had a lot of concerns with how it was implemented, and Valve has been patching it constantly. How subticks are affected into movement and shooting and everything. And it seems like every time they're getting closer to something that everyone, or at least most people, will be happy about. But for now, it feels good. Those smokes really do look good. Shooting through the smokes, especially with like a shotgun, and you just see it kind of dissipate, throwing a grenade into it and watching it like kind of poof out to the sides. Seeing the smoke like linger on somebody's body as they run through it.
And does smoke seem super vital? Like, could you theoretically play, like, would a Snoop Dogg who, has given up smoke, would he be able to excel at this video game, or is he going to be pretty much assed out?
I think if you're good at shooting, you can, if you're all right at shooting a gun and hitting people in Counter-Strike, you can get by on that and like rely on 1 to 2 other people on your team to know, because that's the thing is like, as there's very few instances where you need to execute like a 3-man smoke, like, and smoke off this route, and this exit. Like you could do that, and I'm like pros on pro teams will do that, but for matchmaking, if you know one decent smoke on a site, like that's going to be a huge advantage, and you could, and only one person needs to take care of that.
That's ice. So I'm on TikTok from time to time, and you see, gaming videos on TikTok are always a little weird, but like the one thing I kept seeing over the last handful of months here are people showing you where to smoke in CS2. I'm just like, okay, now here's a crazy smoke. And it's like, okay, look exactly here at this sign, then look just up a little bit, and then jump and throw. And then they fly cam over to where it hits, and you go, and it's like, oh, you've completely smoked off B. Right. Like, whoa, crazy. It's just like all these insane, which I guess, Call of Duty used to have a little bit of that, of just like, okay, at the start of the match, look up at this crane and then move slightly left and then throw your throwing knife, and it will flip all the way over to their spawn and maybe hit someone, or, or whatever it is. But
there's definitely some crazy ones that are like pixel perfect. And there's some that are like, if you stand in this corner and just throw it over this house, you'll do something good. And like, that's the stuff where I'm like fine learning that.
Right.
I did like as an exercise, we were like, I was playing with some friends and we were all talking about this specific thing, like these smokes on one of the maps that on Mirage, which is kind of like the most commonly played map, it seems. So we were like, oh, let's just like try them out. And so I tried doing one of the pixel perfect, like this is to smoke. This is for my CS players out there, smoking mid window from terrorist side.
That's we're all smoking mid window.
I only smoke loud window, but that's just me. I mean, that's more things.
That's expensive. So
yeah, well, I'm a man of taste.
Economy rounds, man.
I never hit it. I tried like 20 to 30 times, and I didn't hit it once, and I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Fuck this completely.
Yeah. No, it's the technology. Like when they started rolling out videos about what CS2 was going to be, I was like, this all sounds fantastic. And then I played it as like, oh right, it's still Counter-Strike, you dumbass. Like you're an idiot. You don't like Counter-Strike, stupid. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
and I definitely it's definitely not my preferred shooter. I'm more in the camp, I think, as you know, of enjoying like movement in shooters, like really latching on to stuff like Apex, and was kind of my favorite recent one. And even like we played a decent amount of Warzone recently when we were trying to find our like post Dota, what do we do with our lives game. So
what happened with Dota? Like did you just get fed up with it, or did they actually fuck it up? Or is it any one thing that you just go like, they did this and I had to stop playing? That was like my Call of Duty thing for a year there. It was like, oh, they made it so you don't kill people in one melee hit anymore. This is the worst game in the world now. And then, after a year of it, I was like, yeah, I get it.
There's no one change I can point to. What it feels like is around the time of Artifact coming out, I was talking to somebody with kind of firsthand knowledge about Valve, and they were telling me that it's kind of publicly known that Valve is a company where you get to work on what you want to work on. And everyone who was working on Dota really wanted to work on Artifact because it was a game in the Dota universe. It was a new something. They had like Richard Garfield in there.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like it had a genuine shot at being something really cool. I think they told me at the time there were 4 people working on maintaining Dota.
Right.
And it just feels like another period of that. It feels like a period where like after Artifact crashed, Dota kind of had this like really interesting stretch where they added a lot of new mechanics. They really changed it. They like added a whole nother outer ring to the Dota map full of stuff.
More like Dota 3, am I right?
Hey, that's really funny.
Thank you.
They like added a second Roshan pit and all this stuff, and like it was crazy, and everyone was like, wow, this is great. And then like, I don't know how much you've heard about this, like this shooter. You hear about this Dota shooter? There's been a rumor flying around that like that's what Ice Frog has been working on.
Yes,
some kind of shooter in the Dota world, and they're trying to do a like, well, look at League. They took their game and really kind of blew it out into all this other stuff. Why don't we do that? And they had that incredibly mid anime.
Yeah.
So like maybe they are all working on something. I mean, I'd like to hope they are, because if they're working on Dota, it's not seen in playing Dota. It just became a little stale, and honestly, it just was like you play something for long enough. Every time I would take a break and then come back to it, the amount of time that I would spend back to it would just get shorter and shorter and shorter.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just like eventually it's just
like why are you subjecting yourself to this? I guess the big question is, do you still have it installed?
Yes, and I actually played for the first time in months yesterday.
See? Oh, there you go. All right. Okay then. You could always get back into TF2. They put some stuff out for that. I don't know. Hey,
there's another game they put some stuff out for.
Right? Yeah. Get into Half-Life now. Before we get into that, I have been messing around with the Atari 2600 Plus, which Atari put out a new Atari 2600. This thing it's a smaller 2600, same basic shape. It takes real cartridges and it takes real controllers. It has the same controller ports. To me, the interesting thing is that they made new controllers. They made new like old Atari controllers, like joysticks and paddles, and like they sent that shit over, and I was like, let's see what the fuck this thing's about. I was like, oh man, I haven't had a paddle controller that wasn't loose and destroyed in ever 40 years. Like never. I've never seen one that wasn't completely fucking ripped to shreds. And so having one that actually functioned seemingly as advertised, a nice tight set of paddles, was very nice.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff. Here, I'm looking at the page for the CX40 joystick, and it says features. The CX40 Plus joystick is the essential traits of the original, and one of those is made to last. So, like, I don't.
Well, so the joysticks themselves didn't always fall apart. The rubber grip would come off the top, and then you were just holding this white bony
Like the
thing under it.
N64 thumbstick a little bit.
Almost, yeah. It was like this completely destroyed thing at that point. But the paddles were always just loose and very jittery. So you'd plug them in and you'd see the paddle and break out just constantly jittering because the thing was just ripped to shreds. And so that's been kind of cool. I'm not really like I'm not a guy who's out there going like I love putting the original cartridges into things, and that's why I like to emulate shit. I like to have everything on an SD card,
Yeah,
and never have to think about it. But also, I am a person who has been holding on to a bunch of Atari 2600 and 7800 cards because it plays those too. For decades, and some of them I don't even know if they work anymore, and the process of having to hook up an old Atari these days without modding it to do RGB out and all this other shit sucks. So like the idea of just like, hey, here's a device, like it's dumping the card and running it on an emulator. It's not some magic box that is 100% one-to-one compatible with the original hardware, but it's damn close. Stella, the emulator, is fantastic these days, and it will let me know if these cartridges are functional or not. And so, for at least once I go get them out of storage, I'm going to play some Kaboom on these paddles before the paddles fall apart. And that's
it's going to feel
great.
Like nothing you've ever felt before. It's going to be the crispest game of Kaboom you've ever played.
So the problem, though, is that now it's HDMI out. And so now, it's going to be these great paddles, but what's the input latency like now that we're going through all these other, TVs and emulating all this other stuff? Like it might actually be fucking way worse. But it's a neat idea. It's like $130. I don't know. It's cool. I enjoyed my time.
It's only HDMI out. It doesn't have
any. Yeah, they didn't do any RF out or coax or S video or whatever else. It's all just kind of HDMI. But I do. I mean, I have CRTs around here. I have one. But ugh.
You got the Hello Kitty.
Yeah, I got the Hello Kitty for me and all my Smash friends, which, we were going to have a big tournament, and then Nintendo said no, and I was like, well, fuck this, I'm going to take a shower, I guess. And that just hasn't been the same since.
Well, now you can only do community showers, and you can only do a limit of 6 of them per year and no more than 16 in one organization. So
yeah, I know. And like all my prizes of alcohol and hardcore butt tapes, like I can't do that anymore. Like it's just like Nintendo, more like no fun dough.
Still got those tapes?
Yeah, you got a VCR. I'll dub you a set.
Okay.
With that, why don't we get into the news? I can't play the news music because I didn't think ahead to upload it to this thing that I use when we have guests, but pretend that there was news music played here. They're going to put The Last of Us out on PlayStation 5. I thought they did that already.
I also thought they did that already.
Like the weirdest news of the week was we're putting The Last of Us out on The Last of Us 2 out on PlayStation 5. And I was like, huh? What? Didn't that come out on PlayStation 5? Like, when did that come? And I just sit and think for a while. Like, I guess that was a PlayStation 4 game. And they did do some kind of patch to make it run better on a PS5, but it wasn't like a full PS5 patch. Anyway, January 19th, The Last of Us Part 2 remastered is going to come out. It's going to have a new mode called No Return, which is like some kind of rogue-like light type thing. They're going to have a daily run that's a part of that.
Finally, something to get me excited about The Last of Us.
That's right. Did you shred these motherfuckers' necks harder than everyone else? Then you're at the top of the leaderboard.
This run started with the dog named Stefan. That knows. I mean, I know we're gonna get this item.
That's right.
On 10 minutes.
Director's commentary.
They're doing this because the second season of the show is coming out, right?
I assume so, and also,
that's
there
probably going
were
to mirror the plot of the
yeah,
game.
and there was talk that they were going to do like a multiplayer thing, and they kind of say like, oh yeah, we're still, but it
Oh
seems like
yeah,
maybe that work on that has not gone super smoothly, and so maybe that was a thing that was supposed to be out by now, and now they're like, oh well, fuck it, let's get this going.
they can't figure out a way for the console to come alive and beat your dog to death in your room if you lose in a multiplayer match.
That's right. It's gonna pour hot coffee on your dog. Like you'll it's hot coffee too, except this time you pour hot coffee into a spigot. This is only on the new PlayStation 5. It's got
Right.
like a spout on it, and you pour coffee into it, and it heats it up to scalding temperatures. And then you have your PlayStation camera hooked up, and it looks in the room and goes, "Where's the dog?" And as soon as you mess up in the game, the nozzle just aims at the dog and just blasts it with just 240-degree coffee.
And you might be saying like, "Oh, I just won't have my dog in the room." No, you won't. Trust me, you want the dog in the room.
No, you're going to need the dog in the room. You're definitely going to need the dog in the room. It's not going to work otherwise. It'll be a $10 upgrade for people who own it on PlayStation 4, which is cool because they kind of stopped
nice.
doing that. But that's the right thing to do. And yeah, hey, it seems like, hey, when the last remaster, when they did the first game, like people loved what they did to it. And so this is going to have some of the accessibility stuff from that game, some of the photo mode stuff from that game. So that seems smart. People who love this thing will love this thing, I bet. So
yeah, and I do like I am fairly cool on that game and that series, but I do think it's really cool that like they were successful in bringing in a whole slew of people who have never really thought about video games critically, with the HBO series being such a hit, and like taking advantage of the remasters and kind of having this like new release that seems new if you're not plugged into games at all, and like you maybe have a PS5, or like maybe you're even willing to get a PS5 just to like because you like the show so much. I do have to give them props that like they as a piece of intellectual property, they've done really really good things with The Last of Us.
Yeah, and well, I think also there's just there's been so much bad video game stuff. Like, I tried to watch the TV show and did not get into it for some of the same reasons. I didn't really care for the game, but it's nice to see something like that feels like it's hitting a mark. And it's like, the Mario movie, the Sonic movie, like we're starting to see these things that like people are coming away from it going like, hey, this is actually not so bad, whether they're kids or whatever.
Oh, did you watch the Mario movie?
Yeah, I finally did. Because I had to watch. I hadn't finished it, but I've seen most of it. I was watching it to try to decide if my daughter was going to be able to watch it or not. And like screening it and going like, hey, is this? And I think for what it is, it's not.
I mean, I tuned in. I watched
ambitious film, I would say. But
what are you talking about? They get into his whole ethos and they explore the fact that he has generational trauma keeping him from being the best plumber he can be.
I suppose.
Isn't that what you wanted from Mario movie?
I don't know what I would. I almost like if you had told me we made a completely plot-free thing. It's just like basically a sick-ass animation of Mario doing ill shit.
Yeah, like a flash, like a fan.
Yes, like a fan, like the 90-minute like ultimate battle,
Grounds,
Newgrounds. Mario murders 3,000 people. Like if they just made that, but it was like really high res and fucking 8K IMAX, whatever.
Just Chris Pratt doing the grunts, just not talking, but like doing
just no dialogue at all. It's just that probably would have worked for me in a weird way too.
Probably the most insufferable needle drops I've ever heard in a movie. Was the other thing, just like literally the most on the nose. Like I need a hero during the training montage.
Yeah,
like
it's the thing about kids' movie. Like, and they probably think they're being like, oh well, parents will get that this is a reference to another movie thing, but kids don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, kids didn't play that Saints Row game. No. That's where they came from, right? Yeah. what else is going on? There was a job listing for Monolith Productions, the developers of those Lord of the Rings games, the good ones. And they've been working on a Wonder Woman game for quite some time now. I think the news here is that it's confirmation that the Wonder Woman game is still in active development, because I feel like I haven't seen anything. Maybe I just haven't been paying close attention, but it was known that they've been making this Wonder Woman game for a long time, and but like hasn't been a ton of talk about it lately. Anyway, there was a job listing for Monolith that said it's a lead software, according to Eurogamer here. It's a lead software engineer, gameplay, and live software product or game experience is a nice to have. So people took that, combined with some recent statements from David Zaslav,
my hero.
Yeah, he's one Bill Phil's friend, who said basically, yeah, like we're really going to focus on these live service games and extending games with mobile add-ons and free-to-play mobile extensions of these IPs. Like, we think that that's where the money is. We're gonna make those.
Do we have anything in development we can get rid of? Suicide Squad game? Nah, we don't need. That's a tax write-off.
Yeah, shut it down. No, but that's the live service game. So that one's, if anything, it'd be this Wonder Woman game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so people took his statements combined with this job listing, and they were like, oh no, Wonder Woman's going to be a live service game. So Warner had to come out and say, no, it's not being developed as a live service game, which is like a weird way, by them coming out and saying no, it's like them acknowledging, we get it. You don't fucking want these. It's not.
It's so funny where we're
even though we're about to ship another one of those finally, it's not.
It's so funny to me where we're at as a society with live service games, because I totally agree. It's like, it sucks to play video games right now, new video games right now, because all of them are a job, right?
Sure.
So many of them. I feel like we're starting to get a lot of really good self-contained stuff, though. This year, especially between like Mario and Baldur's Gate, were two great examples of non-live servicey things.
And tons of indie games that are
good indie games,
good short,
But like, if you want something with like a good budget behind it, and for it to be a self-contained 30 to 60 hour experience, you're just like, they're few and far between, and everyone knows that now, and everyone hates it. And so now people are like, oh, don't worry, it's not live service. It's normal. It's a normal game.
And then I think it was like just last week we had developers that were kind of like Remedy was coming out and saying, hey, well, yeah, we had this game we were making, it was going to be free to play. Fucking fuck that. We're going to sell it to you instead, because we think that's going to make for a better game. And so it's weird to see some of that stuff happen also alongside the Warner stuff of, hey, we think we can do this, which, everything I've been told over the years, and I had a conversation with someone who reiterated some of this a little bit. But like, you need to have people in place to run a live service game. You can't just go like, hey, we've never made one of those before, and let's you want to do that? Yeah, let's do it. That's where the money is, man. Season pass, battle pass, whatever. Fuck it. Because you need people to then, like, after the game ships, they need to be there with the season 1 content almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And season 2 is, like, you're on that treadmill as developers, like, until the game gets shut down or abandoned because you made a sequel, because you made it so big and it hit hard, and you're like, oh, great, this is the perfect place to be. You have to be set up to do that stuff. And I get the impression that a lot of publishers think that they want to tap into this seemingly endless money of like, we can make a live service game and then we'll just ship it once and they'll give us money for like 7 or 8 years. This is great. Yeah. And they forget that no, in order for it to be a 7 or 8 year thing, you have to have a crazy plan in place. You have to be able to pivot as players' needs change. You have to be able to address, it's just nuts. But they see whether it's GTA Online, or until recently, I would have said something like Destiny 2, though lately, maybe not so much, like a Warframe or something to that extent. But they see these things, they see these different, whether they're competitive shooters or whatever, and go, hey, we want in on that, and I get it.
Overwatch 2.
I guess. I mean, like, is it that? I guess it's free to play, right? But like, is it that different? Setting aside the player count changes and everything else, like, is it that different from Overwatch 1?
I mean, it's focused on seasons in a way that the first one isn't. There is a battle pass every season now. The new characters are earned through getting the battle pass, and the expand like they have. Well, no, they abandoned their single player the co-op stuff. So like
they had these like hero missions or whatever that they tried to sell for an extra $15 or something.
But that's the thing. It's like a new, like they alternate between new map and new hero on the battle pass.
Okay.
Or
wait, they don't
put the map on the battle pass, but that's for this season. Got
it. Okay. I was gonna say, like,
that would be. I mean, that would fuck matchmaking up too much.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we don't. That's the games just don't do that anymore, which is good. I was complaining about Modern Warfare 3 last week, because it only has new maps, even though a lot of that game feels like an add-on for last year's game. It does not have last year's game content in it. But they added, and it's a weird thing, but there's a playlist now that's literally called the Modern Warfare 2 playlist, and it just has 4 maps from last year's game. Not all of them, just like 4 of them.
And this is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not to be confused of the sequel of Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's And this is Modern Warfare 3, which, so Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just came out. Its multiplayer content consists of all of the maps from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Got it.
From 2009.
Okay. Not the game it is a sequel
Not the game that came out last year.
The game that its prequel was inspired by.
Two. Yes.
Got it.
Last year's game had mostly new maps. And it's a great game. This one, less so. I have not seen a Call of Duty game get brutalized in reviews like this, maybe ever. It was interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm not too knowledgeable on many Call of Duties, but I know I've never seen a reaction like this. Even the middling ones were like had a fair share of defenders, or like at most was just in and out of the public consciousness. This one, I'm just seeing people who I didn't know play Call of Duty be like, "Holy shit, this sucks."
Yeah.
Because I feel like most people play Call of Duty and are like, "Oh, it's another Call of Duty." You're like, "Oh, that's a pretty good Call of Duty." And then
like that was kind of the thing for me for a good long time. It was like, hey, even when Call of Duty's bad, it's still bing bang laser tag whatever, run around, shoot people. Like, it's a good relaxing end of the night sort of game that you can play. But I don't know. A lot of anniversaries here. November is always going to be anniversaries of console launches and all this other shit. But Half-Life turned to 25, and they put out a big old update. Not just like real simple, some of it's like, oh, well, we fixed some lighting that had been broken for the last 17 years, or hey, we put the Valve logo, the original Valve logo back in the game, which you're like, okay, yeah.
And he turns all the way around and winks.
Oh my God, it's terrifying.
It's worth noting that these are all on also like they made a whole web page that looks straight out of like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Like they really went all out with this thing.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it. They verified it on the Steam Deck, so it's got good proper controller support now.
They patched the multiplayer.
Yep, they added new multiplayer maps. What's the Dota team been doing, you ask? They shipped 4 new Half-Life 2 deathmatch maps.
Honestly, that rocks. Like,
it's awesome.
I got zero complaints with that. Like.
Yeah,
I kind of want to boot it up just to like run around in them and be like,
they modernized it, to kind of better take advantage of modern resolutions and make sure the UI scales appropriately and all of those kind of
changed grenade physics.
They increased the 357 damage from 40 points to 50. Like they got into it. They sat there and said like, we've been looking at the data for the last 20 years and we're pretty sure we need to raise the damage on this revolver because it's some bullshit. Like everyone left, and now there's new people at Valve that are just like, we're gonna fucking fix it the right way because fuck those people, they were wrong.
Yeah, they've been wrong this whole time.
The MP5 now always starts with full ammo when you initially pick it up. God damn it! What the fuck is wrong with these people, Gabe? Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff like that. They still allow access to the previous build of it in case mods depend on it, but they're hoping that eventually the mod support will kind of catch up with the changes they made. There's also a big ass documentary out that was shot by Danny O'Dwyer's crew, his not the secret tape crew, which is even more secret than the no clip crew. Yeah. That's
it's
amazing.
Cool. I mean, you got Gabe. I watched the first like 15-20 minutes of it, and you got Gabe in there real early on, just talking, just like they're very candid in it. It's cool.
And Valve's a company that I think at this point can very much afford to be super candid. They don't have to give a fuck. They're just like, yeah.
They could not release another game or really.
Yeah, we'll talk about Half-Life 1. What do you want to talk about? Yeah. And I guess on that note, like they announced a new Steam Deck.
Yes,
they have upgraded the Steam Deck. It is basically they are going to keep one entry level non OLED Steam Deck, but they have changed out the screen from a 7-inch LCD to a 7.4-inch OLED. They redid some of I think the grips on the controllers might be slightly different, but it's got a slightly better battery life. And I guess because of the screen being 90 hertz instead of, I believe, 60 on the other one, it sounds like from people that have access to them already that the input latency is much reduced. And so that sounds like actually a really nice bump without being a big spec bump, because they were out there saying like, oh, we're not going to make a Steam Deck 2 for a long time. Like the parts don't exist yet. It's just not, it's not feasible for us to do it unless, it has 20 minutes of battery life or whatever. But now they're saying, hey, this is going to have better battery life than the original model. It's got a better screen, better input latency, some, like a handful of changes. They did a limited edition transparent colorway.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. And they are still selling those. It was a limited edition, but it's still, you could go buy one right now, days after they started taking orders. I just got my tracking number today for mine. I decided to buy one. I love that Steam Deck. And so the idea of a better one of those, I was like, yeah, let me get in on that. I ended up buying the limited edition one, though. Of course, like they started pre-orders at like 10 a.m. and I was on the Discord, which you can go to patreon.com/Jeff Gerstmann if you want to be on the Discord. And a bunch of us were trying to order them, and the website was broken, and it was like, oh man, fuck this. So they looked like they were sold out. I had one in my cart, and it was like, nope, can't buy this. It's sold out. I was like, shit. Well, I guess I'll just buy a regular one while they're here. So that I was able to get my hands on one of the regular non-limited edition ones. And then I got up and, went and hung out changed some diapers, did some of that stuff. And then I sit back down, and I still have the Discord window of our Steam Deck channel up, and people are like, oh yeah, I just got my limited edition. I just placed this. I looked at it. I was like, that's weird. Did they just get there? And I was like, I should probably check. I loaded it back up, and sure enough, like the limited edition was just sitting there in stock. It is still in stock all these days later. So not, I don't know how limited they really are, but I don't know. They're still out there. So I was pretty excited to get an order in for one of those.
It's cool that they're turning them around much faster, because I remember it was like 7 or 8 months between me ordering the first gen and getting that.
Yeah, I was in a similar. Yeah, it was a good long time. And then because all I wanted to do with the Steam Deck was like start fucking it up. And like, I want to be able to SSH into this thing. I need to be able to copy these things over. I want to see how these emulators work. I want to see how this, and talking to people that had access to one, and they were just like, yeah, I don't know, played some games on it. It's fine. I'm like, no, fucking Install weird shit on it. What are you
Valve
doing?
themselves were like, yo, you can fuck this shit up.
Like, yeah, like you can re-image it. It's fine. It's easy to fix it. It's just like, get in there and do something with it. God damn it. Oh, that is frustrating. But yeah, so that's that is shipping imminently and just in time for the holidays or whatever. And I don't know what I'll do with my existing Steam Deck, if I'm going to try and sell it, or it seems like the sort of thing that, like, it's a decently powerful little thing that what if I just shoved it in a closet and kept running Linux on it? And I was like, I just have another little server machine. But that's dumb. Why would I do that?
Yeah,
like I don't have a. I don't
never
have
made any sort of decision around like some tech in your home that didn't.
Yeah, maybe I'll sell it to you for $1, like I did with my Steam Link.
I just found that thing. I was cleaning out my closet, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
I occasionally think about that Steam Link and go, "Man, they don't sell those anymore. I should have."
Oh man, I could sell it for so many more dollars.
It was sealed, new in box. I bought it, and I was just like, when they put them on deep discount, I bought one for next to nothing, and was just like, I don't know.
I used that thing to play Divinity Original Sin 2 before I had a Steam Deck because my PC was in my office, but I wanted to sit on my couch.
Damn. And I don't need a server because the server's over here. I poked a hole in my wall and ran an Ethernet cable through it, and there's one fewer computers in my office, so it is not nearly as warm in there anymore. It's nice.
What did you use to poke the hole?
I used a screwdriver.
Oh, okay.
I have the proper tools. I'm a tool man.
Well, I was thinking like my first thought was like, oh yeah, I'd hit it with a hammer, but and that sounds fun. Yeah, but it doesn't sound surgical enough.
No. So in the office there was the previous owner of this house, who has passed away. So I won't speak ill of. He liked to run cables everywhere. He liked to run wires everywhere he could. And so there was like an office phone system in this house. So you could call other rooms in the house, like intercom style, and be like, could you bring me up an apple juice, or whatever. And then then Wi-Fi was invented. And so all that stuff just sat in the house, like literally like big old PBX box looking crazy phone gear in the closets that I had to rip out. Ridiculous. And so there's just like weird boxes and holes in all the walls. And so there was a phone jack box that I yanked off, and then there was just a hole in the wall behind it that was about yay big. And I was like, shit, well, hopefully nothing crawls out of that. That's always my fear if there's a big hole in the wall. Scorpions. I don't know why.
Oh yeah. My first thought would be treasure. Like, oh, I found somebody buried metal here.
Yeah. He had a safe. There's a safe in the house that I finally did open, and there was no treasure in there. So I figure.
Was there anything?
No. Like, and I didn't put anything in it either, because I'm like, who knows if I'll be able to open this ever again.
Right. Just put a note in there that says "fuck you."
Right. Yeah. If I ever think about moving out, I'll do that, and then just like forget to give them the combo, and just like, they'll chisel it out one day. They'll shoot one of those TikTok videos of, we found a safe. What's in it? And there's never any. It's like fucking alcohol.
You guys are never going to believe what we found in this safe.
Oh my god! Here's a 10-part fucking TikTok set of videos, and you can buy them for 99 cents now.
You can sell TikTok
series. You could start a series on TikTok and sell access to them. I get a notification on TikTok probably once a week saying you should sell videos. I'm like, of what? My ass? Of me doing the fucking the Genshin Impact fucking the or at least
challenge.
Whatever. Anyway. Since there was already that hole there, I just said, oh, well, I'll just run it through there because there's already one big hole. I can poke a tiny hole through on the other side, just big enough to just cram an Ethernet cable through there. And so I just got a screwdriver and just went, and now my computer's out here. It's nice. That's my story.
And all it took was a little stabbing.
That's right. All it took was a little stabbing. Big anniversaries here. It's been, as of the 15th, it's been 10 years since the launch of the PlayStation 4.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one hit weird.
Yeah.
Like there's still a bunch of PS4 games coming out.
College, watching the stream on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and laughing a lot at the reveal PS4 stream.
Right. Oh yeah. Yes. I was there. I was in New York for the reveal when they did that. I flew out there for that, and then we had to go back out to New York to get PlayStation 4s. They had an event. They took over a whole hotel, and they were, they're doing interviews, they're showing the games, and they were like, "Oh, here, gonna," and then they were like, "You can go upstairs and we'll etch your PlayStation 4 with your outlet's name if you'd like." I'm like, "No, I'm all right." And so we flew home with like 2 of them or something, and got back, and like PSN wasn't up yet, and so we wanted to just play Resogun, but kind of couldn't, and but it was such a weird, like, it was the sort of event that barely happened at all then. It was already kind of done happening, and now just feels ridiculous and unheard of. It was like it was the last time I saw Mark Cerny in person and talked to him about, well, no, that's not possible. I'm sure I've seen him in person since then, but like
he was on top of that maze, and you were kind of tilting it around trying to get him to the exit.
Exactly. Yeah. And just a bunch of other folks there. It was such a different time, and the PlayStation 4, I don't know, it feels like it ushered in, some of the stuff they did with indie games and self-publishing felt like it, was building off of what Microsoft did and kind of got wrong with Xbox Live Arcade. But in a lot of ways, it feels like the modern video game industry we have now, where games are coming out constantly everywhere all the time, feels like some of that stuff kind of, the foundation for that feels like it was laid partially by the early days of the PS4. And yeah. And then they put out that Killzone game, Shadowfall. Not a great game. Not a great game. But a game I keep thinking about. I don't know why. I've been thinking about Killzone a lot lately, but specifically I started thinking about that one, the most non-Killzone-like Killzone game of them all. And thinking, I should go back and play that again. I'm like, no, dumbass, what is wrong with you? You can't even play the games that are out now. What the fuck? Anyway. Similarly, this week, in a couple of days here, we will experience the 10-year anniversary of the Xbox One. Much different vibe.
Yeah.
And last week, same day, November 15th, but it was 2001, was the launch of the original Xbox.
Whoa.
Which is 2000. It's weird to think now that, like, okay, 9/11 happened, and then 3 months later, the new Xbox came out. And I think the GameCube probably came out like 3 days before or after that too, right?
Yeah.
It's weird to think about all of that stuff kind of happening within a very compressed window there. The original Xbox.
So it was so cool. It was just like
9/11?
Well, for some things, probably, for comedy and like,
Sure.
Yeah. No, like it's probably historically an inferior console to the PS2, and I had a GameCube, but like I remember being so insanely jealous of my friends with Xboxes to a degree that, like, it just, the games on there, what was the blue guy with the elements,
Azaric.
Yeah,
or a Nightcaster. What is? Yeah,
I think it was that. Like, and Jet Set, and just like it just had such a presence. And I love that controller. You know, I'm a fan of the Duke.
You got large hands. Seems like it would
built for me.
Yeah. The original Xbox, I think it was cool because it just felt so different from. Yeah, so you're like gonna crush that thing, and that's the Xbox controller in your hand. You're gonna destroy it. That's like a baby controller, with those meat hooks. Yeah, the original Xbox is weird. I mean, it was probably technically the most powerful console of its generation, but it was not the PlayStation 2. So
yeah,
like no one, in a lot of ways, no one cared. I mean, yeah, Microsoft rushed their way out of that generation to launch the Xbox 360 ahead of the PlayStation 3 so that they get a jump start, and it worked really great for them. Well, then, in 2013 they would fuck it all up. But that thing, it was big and weird, and it had games on it that did not exist anywhere else. It had a bunch of games from Microsoft that were just like, what are you doing? What, you're putting out what? Okay, like, this is your take on a boat combat game. This is okay. This is you're going to put out a Bruce Lee video game, and this is what you're doing. Okay, all right. Kakuto Chojin. You're going to make some fighting games, but you don't have Street Fighter, so you're going to just go make your own. Sure. You're going to go pay the other guy from Mortal Kombat. You're going to go find John Tobias, and he's going to start a studio, and you're going to put out a fighting game exclusively on this, and then he's going to make a wrestling game that's not very good. It was just weird. And for that, I kind of liked it, but also, I mean, it did have, like Mech Assault, and that was an amazing game. And there was just so much weird shit on it. And then eventually, just when the third parties started supporting everything,
Yeah.
then, it was just like, oh, this Xbox version has better textures than the PS2 version and slightly better textures than the GameCube version, but whatever, it's the same.
Or like, we get this DLC 3 months before they get the DLC.
Well, it wasn't even a big, that wasn't, because that was like PlayStation 2. Like, there wasn't a ton of DLC until the following generations, but they did map DLC for Halo. They sold, you could buy Ms. Pac-Man digitally, or maybe it came on a disc and you had to buy access to it online. It was like the disc was free or something. And then you're like, you want to give us $5 for Ms. I forget how it exactly worked, but there was some kind of precursor to Game Room or Xbox Live Arcade or something that they attempted, but didn't really have the infrastructure in place to pull off just yet. But
you just really triggered something in me deep when you said Game Room. I'm not going to be okay.
Well, think about this. Now that Microsoft owns Activision, they own a significant chunk of games that were in Game Room. Like, any day they could decide to put Pitfall out on the Xbox.
Finally put Sunset Riders on the Game Room.
Yes, god damn it. What the fuck is Konami doing that they're too good to put out Sunset Riders on the goddamn Xbox? The amount of time I've spent trying to emulate Game Room with all of its weird packs and add-ons and everything is not zero. But my success in making it work is zero. It's a bad use of my time. But every 6 to 12 months, I go, I wonder if I can get Game Room running on PC. I should find my Windows. Then the very next thought is, I should find my Windows Phone, because they put Game Room games out on Windows Phone as well.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this might be a worse use of your time than thinking about Killzone.
You're probably right. You're probably right. You're definitely right. But I don't know. That's my way. I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, you got to thrive in your own light. So, like,
yes,
somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to get.
If not me, who? I've got to fucking hold the line on this. If it's not me talking about the first-person shooter Syndicate reboot that EA did once every year or so, who will it be? Austin Walker's out the game. He can't. Anyway, that's it for news. We say we get into some emails.
I love them.
Oh, great. podcast@guard.bike is the email address. And you can send in your emails, and then I will look at them. And maybe this time I'm going to do it on my phone. Grant writes in, he's finally ready to get this conspiracy solved. This is Perfect Dark Zero. Why did Greg give Perfect Dark Zero a 9 out of 10? Was it a paid review, or did he actually like the game?
And you're ready to go on record and blow him up for taking
Yeah, exactly. Greg Kasavin got a Ferrari from Microsoft, and I remember, so Microsoft sent us a lot of Xbox 360s prior to launch. And so we kind of had enough to go around, and that enabled us to play kind of a lot of multiplayer Perfect Dark Zero prior to release. And so for the review, I remember he was like, "Hey, I need everybody to take home an Xbox 360, and I have to play a bunch of Perfect Dark Zero like Saturday, or like we set up a time where we were all going to get online and play some of it." And I remember playing that handful of hours, whatever it was, and I had messed with the campaign a little bit. And I was like, "Man, I fucking hate this game." Um, and Greg really liked it. He really liked it. I remember being like taken aback, like, really? Really? Okay. But also, I think the other thing to remember is the way GameSpot was reviewing games back then is we were reviewing them to the standards of the console upon which they appeared. And so it's a brand new console. The standards haven't necessarily been really locked down yet, but you're seeing graphics that you haven't seen before. It's like there are impressive things about Perfect Dark Zero. There are people that do like that game. I thought that campaign was fucking miserable, man. You get to a certain point and then you're just like, I cannot do this anymore. But yes, if he legit liked that game. I remember seeing that review before it went up and going like, oh, okay, all right, okay, you really okay, all right. I think we had a conversation about it, but yes, he liked that game for sure.
He liked it, so he rated it high.
Yes, that's the big. Yes, he liked the game and rated it high as a result. It had a ton of modes, like the multiplayer and stuff, compared to other games. So I could see like a high value. I could see some of those scores getting up there. Mark writes in and says, "I've always wondered how Hello Games is continuing to develop No Man's Sky. They don't charge for literally anything and produce updates with more meaningful content than 90% of the industry currently. Does every update juice sales enough to justify itself? Are they burning through a war chest for the love of the game? Companies don't normally act like this." That game sold a whole hell of a lot of copies out of the gate. Like, remember that game shipped and people were pissed.
Right. If nobody played it, nobody would be talking about it.
Yeah. And they sold millions and millions of copies of that game. And then they set out to, quote unquote, fix it.
And they had such a like tumultuous development. They like lost all that data in a flood.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit that happened.
It wasn't like they just were like, oh, they released some like half-finished bullshit. It was like they had a really rough time and really seemed to feel bad about the state of the game as it launched and had to launch it.
Yeah, and we can we'll bypass the part where like some of the marketing of that felt really weird and
yes.
Deceptive and so on and so forth. But I think that started them down that path of like, okay, well, we have to we've made enough money now off of the sales of this game to where we have the means to turn this into the thing that we really want it to be. And so they set out doing that. And I think as the narrative on that game changed and people came around on it, Mike, my understanding is that they would release big updates that would get people talking again, and then it would sell a bunch of copies all over again. Like people go like, oh, it's great now. Oh, it's on sale now. Oh, it's this, it's that. Oh, they added VR. Well, we got to get it if we got VR now. And so it just ended up, those updates probably end up paying for themselves up to a point. And I'm sure not every single update brings a massive boost in sales. I know some of them definitely fly under the radar. But yeah, I think that the things they've added to that game are crazy. I think every time I do go back to it, I'm like, what? They added what? You can make music now? Sure, why not? Like they really spent a lot of time going down some really weird rabbit holes with that game. Like for me, when it launched, like it was just like fundamentally the story that they were trying to tell and the way they were telling it. It's funny. Starfield kind of reminds me of the things I don't like about No Man's Sky.
They're doing the exact same bullshit. They put out a game that is not the game that has been presented, and people seem to not be nearly as mad. Why do you think that is?
I think it is. Well, I think it's less that people are mad and more that people are like, oh, they just made another one of those, and it has a lot of the same limitations as all their other games. And there are people who are like, I can't believe there aren't a billion more planets, or that most of these planets are empty and boring. But I feel like the last thing they showed in like the E3 timeframe, they did like here's our big Starfield thing. I remember watching that and going, okay, I think I know exactly what this game is now. And then it showed up and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And I, at first blush, like my first 10 hours with it or so, I was like, this is great. Like I'm enjoying the characters and the story, and there are things about this game that make me want to keep going. And then I started to wrap up some of the story threads and was like, oh, this is terrible. Like the writing on this is so bad. And also a lot of the mechanics kind of wear out some of their welcome. And so my sentiment on it turned over the course of it. I think it's more of an apathy. I think it's less about, it is still like a slight mismanagement of expectations, but I don't think it's something where you can point at the marketing and say they absolutely lied about this stuff. Where I think No Man's Sky, you kind of edge a little bit more into that territory. Sure. This is more like they didn't say a lot of stuff, and then when it came time for them to say stuff, they said it. And if you were paying attention and watching that, you were like, okay, no, this is the next game from Bethesda Game Studios, top to bottom. But it just has a spaceship in it.
I do feel like there was maybe a little bit of disingenuousness with regards to how you're not really flying around in space in it. And it might be a thing of where like maybe they never showed that, and maybe like they kind of vaguely talked about it to create a picture where you in your mind would paint what that looks like.
Yeah.
But like everyone I don't talk to a ton of people who are like covering games anymore. Most of the people I've talked to about games are very casual.
It's because they've all been laid off.
I mean, like a little bit, but it was a lot of like, I definitely thought like I'd be like flying around space, or like there's no like wasteland equivalent like from Fallout where you're like floating around
out there doing stuff. It's you teleport to a place and then someone's like, I'm in a ship near you and we're going to fight now. And you're like, what if instead I said no and the dice roll went my way and you just flew away? Like, okay, that's good too.
I also think Fit Alpha V in the chat pointed out the Game Pass indifference, and I think that's I played that game on Game Pass. I would have been really, really upset if I had paid money for that game. If I had paid $60, $70 for that game, I would be a lot more upset.
Yep. Yeah. A much lesser investment definitely eases that sting quite a bit. I'm sure that actually makes a ton of sense. Let's see here. What else do we got?
One thing I wanted to say about No Man's Sky development. I think being able to work on a game like that's so open that you can kind of do whatever you want to as a developer, because it is a game about exploring strange new worlds and like building mechanics and stuff like that, could just be a way for them to practice stuff. This is something I've kind of like started to realize as somebody who's just starting to tip their toe into game development, is like you can add something to a game because you're like, I don't know how to do this. I want to figure out if it's fun to do this. Like for this game, and maybe it doesn't even make sense in this game, but maybe I like start to build something here and I'm like thinking about the next game and this in there. And I feel like No Man's Sky is a perfect game like a sandbox game like that is a perfect game for a developer to just like have an idea and be like, I want to put this in the game, and have the ability to just try it.
Yeah, and now that game has so much in it that they can kind of get away with like, some of these systems might not be as fleshed out as others.
Right.
But hey,
they've won the battle. People say it's a good game now. So like they kind of they can make some updates that are less impressive.
Sure. Yeah. Matt from Chicago writes in and says, have you watched any of Forged in Fire? It's garbage, but it's become my weird go-to show my girlfriend and I watch when wrestling is over. It's a knife show turned into a reality competition. Also, they have a spin-off Blade Sport show hosted by Goldberg. It's also garbage. I have only seen the Goldberg spin-off.
Of course.
And it's, and it is people showing up with their knife. People who have like, this is my knife. It's or it's a sword, or it's, it's whatever. They show up with their fucking blade.
Yeah.
And then in the episode, they go through and like people have to like look at the blade and go like, is this going to be safe? Can you wield this? Like they put it through some immediate paces where like a blade master looks at all the blades and go, this is a piece of shit. You can't don't bring this on my knife obstacle course. And then it looks like those fucking YouTube knife obstacle course videos, except it's like big and weird. Like, can you fucking take a chunk out of a barrel so that all the beans fall out of it? And how long does it take you? Can you cut this giant fucking piece of meat in one fucking swipe? And so it's like people doing this blade obstacle course where they're running up these stairs and they're fucking like, it's this big guy who looks like a fucking retired cop, like more donut than man, just going, just like hacking away at a thing. It's fucking garbage. But I did enjoy watching all of those episodes exactly once.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And then Goldberg is there going like, oh, whoa, I like cars, but I guess I like knives.
Like, I don't think that's gonna cut it. Or like,
I don't know that I don't think Goldberg is that.
He's not a quipper.
Yeah, no, he's not an amazing quipper. Let's see here. See if I can find one or two more emails here.
Can I ask if you've watched something?
Yeah.
Have you watched Fast X?
No.
Okay.
I have, like, that's how crazy the whole having kids thing has gotten, is like I need to carve out some time and just sit down and do it. But
Jeff, I say this as somebody with a lot of love in my heart for the series. I think you know. I don't think you need to do that.
But I do. Like, that's the annoying
part.
No, I
know.
Like, I know why you're saying that, because at this point I know why, but
I'd rather watch the Mario movie again.
Yeah. The answer, by the way, is I don't think the Mario movie is quite appropriate for my daughter just yet.
Yeah.
But
maybe it will be. Sometimes.
Yeah. Bowser is a dragon. No, yeah, it's I'm super behind on a lot of that stuff to the point where I had to, like,
one of the worst films I've seen.
Wow.
It has no soul. It's just, it feels like everyone's there for the money. It feels like the dialogue is written in a way so that it can be super easily translated into every language, so it makes $20 billion globally. Yeah. It's just, they need to put that thing out of its misery.
Well, it looks like they're trying to do that eventually here. Yeah, it's, I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, which I'm not diagnosed with, but like at some point I really, like, I already was heading in this direction, but it's like the journey is kind of completed in a lot of ways, where like the idea of giving all of myself to a film for 2 hours or hour and a half or whatever sounds preposterous. I'm just like, no, I'll put on a thing I've seen already, because then I can put it on another monitor and play a game or be on Discord or, like whatever else. Like, let's watch Crank again. Yes, let's. But like the idea of just like sitting down watching something new that I very much have to focus on, it never feels like it's worth the attention that I have to give it, which is a weird, crazy thing to say. But like, I've just hit a point with it where I'm just like, you know what? Video games are interactive, and also they're just more engaging for me. Like, if I'm going to devote myself to a thing that is like a sole solitary 100% of my attention, it's going to be a game. And yeah, I don't know. It's
I'm the same way. If there's a movie coming up that I really, really want to see, I have to make plans to see it in a theater with other people, or else like I'm not gonna watch it, or like I'll watch it at home and have to pay attention. And like,
and I just hate movie theaters. Like my time working in and around movie theaters really soured me on that whole thing.
What popcorn's actually made out of.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to do some stuff in a movie theater that is not. I was dating a movie theater manager for a while. Anyway, yeah. So for me, it's like I desperately, the movie I actually really, really, really want to see is the most recent Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's what I was that's the exact thing I was talking about. I was like, I really, really wanna see this, and I know I'm not gonna enjoy it as much if I, like, wait, so I have to see it
yeah,
in theater with somebody.
yeah. And then that got me thinking. The other thing that happens is I go like, well, I should watch all of the Mission Impossible movies again before I watch it because it's been so long since I've seen any of them. And then I watched the first one and go, yeah, I did it with the Bourne films a while ago. I was like, I'm gonna watch all the Bourne movies because I haven't seen the most recent one. And I watched the first one and said, all right, cool. And then never went on to watch the second one again.
Second one's
But
bad.
yeah. I mean,
It's cool. It's got some cool
yeah,
stuff.
it's fun for. It's not as good. Yeah, no, of course not. But hey. Ryan from Phoenix writes in and says, I remember you once mentioning that after playing Tony Hawk 1 and Thrasher Skate and Destroy at E3, you predicted that Thrasher would be the bigger and better game. But when the games came out, the truth became clear. Have you ever made any similarly off calls about a game's popularity and influence? Or alternatively, have you ever seen potential in a game your colleagues didn't that turned out to be great? I was the guy who said State of Emergency looked cool and Grand Theft Auto 3 was maybe a little like, I don't know. Like I wrote 2 hands-on previews back to back at E3 that year because Rockstar used to go. And I played State of Emergency and I saw GTA 3 and I was the guy going, State of Emergency runs at really high frame rate. There's a lot of enemies on screen. This is looking really cool. Grand Theft Auto 3, I don't know, because the build
It just
quality.
demoed better.
It absolutely did. And GTA 3 was running at a fucked up frame rate, and it's hard to get a sense of like, is this really translating the GTA mechanics? I played a lot of GTA 1 and 2 before it was a 3D franchise, and I was like, I don't know that this is really capturing the things I like about GTA 1 and 2. I mean, it's cool they made a big city, but this seems broken. And it's hard to tell. And so I came away from that going like, State of Emergency is like fucking pretty awesome. And so yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows how that one went. But that's, I don't know, like nothing else really coming to mind in that specific.
I feel like there's probably a million things
Yeah.
that you thought had some heat and didn't, or like, because even I remember when I went to see Arms, I came back being like, Arms got legs, man. Like
Yeah.
there's something about this. And it was, I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact that this was like one of the first events I had covered, and like it was a Nintendo event, so it was like in a really fancy hotel, and they had like a bunch of sandwiches and stuff. I was like, yeah, man, Arms, guys. Like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Arms. That's the frustrating thing about those sorts of situations is that it gets a bunch of people together in one place who are just like down to just like fucking play a game and whatever. And like you end up in situations where you have a good time with a game only to realize like you're never going to have a time that good with that game ever again.
Yeah.
And some of it is like, you could go out of your way to cultivate a base of friends who are into that game and maybe have something like that happen. But like, one of the big ones with that for me was Halo 3, which is actually awesome. I'm not saying Halo 3 is shit, but I had a good time, but like I went to Bungie to play Halo 3. And I sat in a room full of other people who were reviewing Halo 3. And on the last night, like you could kind of come and go as you pleased. It was like a review event. So it was like we were sitting there, we were playing the game. And then they're like, okay, we're going to do multiplayer on the final day. So, try and wrap up the campaign if you haven't and whatever. And I remember it was like me and like 3 or 4 other people. It's like Frank O'Connor, who worked there at the time, and a few other reviewers just got super deep into dumb fucking Forge custom game mode. Like we're going to hit rockets with hammers and fucking like all the goofy shit that people do in a Halo game.
Yeah.
Of like, we're going to jump these fucking warthogs hella far and then hit it with a hammer and it's going to go flying up in the air.
It's
Look
like
at this crazy
like a LAN party at like 2 a.m. when you're done playing the real game and you're like, fuck it, we still want to do something. Like,
yes, we had about 3 or 4 hours of that at the end of the event. And I was like, this is fucking incredible. But because I don't think Forge Mode had matchmaking in the first place, and I didn't really have any other friends that were playing Halo 3, especially that wanted to do that type of weird shit, I never did that ever again. I never had that experience with that game or any other Halo ever again. And it was fucking cool as shit. I was like, man, this is cool that your game can do this. But yeah, that's and I got all the skulls. Like I think I got almost all of the skulls except for one during that event, and it was on like live code, so the achievements were real. And I was like, yeah, fucking cool. But yeah, that's a kind of a similar sort of situation, I suppose. Let me see if I can find one more email, and then we will wrap it up.
Read my lips. One more email.
That's right. Let's see here. I'm looking at my phone, so it's like it's not a great. Okay, Adam in the UK writes in and says everyone seems to agree that LJN was a bad publisher, but what publishers back in the day you remember that even before you even played it, you knew it was going to be poor to mid at best? I would like to mention Acclaim. Other than a few great arcade ports, they really never had much to offer outside of this. And if I remember correctly, people were kind of bummed when they went bust. Is this all from Turok and Shadow Man? Because for me, outside of the arcade ports, I struggled to find an Acclaim game that was truly great. Well, Adam, LJN was Acclaim. You just mentioned the same publisher twice. And they had the LJN name, and they had another Flying Edge was another name that Acclaim used to publish games, I believe mostly on the Genesis or mostly on Sega platforms. I remember being incredibly bummed when Acclaim went out of business, but I agree, most of Acclaim's output, especially in the 8 and 16-bit era, was fucking terrible. They published Wizards and Warriors on the NES. But they published the Mortal Kombat games, the first two anyway, before Midway started doing their own shit, and Turok was a very big deal. But like I think when people like that South Park N64 game that they put out as well, I guess, and they did the wrestling games for a little bit. But like I remember when Acclaim went under, being really bummed out, but it was only because they had just been there so long. Like I don't think Acclaim made great games, but they had been doing it forever. And they owned, they had studios. Like they also published Burnout. They published the first 3 Burnout games. Ooh. Or the first 2 Burnout games. And so like them and like THQ put out a bunch of trash too. And when they went under, they'd kind of redeemed themselves. They had Saints Row. And a few other things, but I don't know. I look at it as Acclaim had always been there. The logo was very recognizable. They published a ton of shit, and even though a lot of it was bad, they were still doing it, and there was something kind of cool about their longevity. And when all that went away, not all that long after they published a BMX Triple X of all things. Oof.
And now all we have is like the Embracer Group.
Right. Yeah. And they're continuing to fall apart. Like they bought the studio that was in making a new Time Splitters game, and now they're saying, oh, we might be shutting this studio down. Like, oh, great. Okay, another Time Splitters reboot potentially getting the axe.
Americans just don't appreciate monkeys being on fire anymore like they used to.
It's true. We don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's some of those publishers, like, I don't know. I have a fondness for all of the, like, the other weird, Absolute Entertainment. It's just some of the companies making games in the SNES and Genesis era that all kind of went away. It was just, I don't know. It was a very different time. Acclaim was a weird company because they were East Coast and most of the companies were West Coast based. And so they were like, they were Jersey, I guess. I remember going to the studio they had in Utah to see, I think, one of the wrestling games, or South Park, or both, or something. But yeah, I don't know. People really liked Turok when that stuff started coming out on N64. I fucking hated Turok. These are fucking awful. Like, why would you? I mean, I guess through the view of it came out on an N64, I guess it's amazing. But hey,
I had a Turok Game Boy game that I liked. It was like a 2D, but yeah, I never fucked with those.
Yeah, I remember when it was like Rage Wars, like the multiplayer focused Turok game came out, and like they had good ideas for some weapons. They had like this cerebral bore that would drill into someone's head and kill them or whatever. And so they kind of went down that road a little bit of goofy weapons. And like the people that we had reviewing those games kept giving them like mid to high 9s. And I'm just like,
kind of a perfect dark situation.
Kind of, yeah, definitely. And I was just like, really, Joe, you like, or I think James Milkey might have reviewed Rage Wars for us back then. I forget. I'd have to go look, but like, it was definitely just this feeling of just like, I don't get what any of you people see in this fucking thing. It's a blurry, foggy mess. The dinosaurs look like shit. It's just what are we doing? And I think the answer was always, oh, you don't play a lot of PC games, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason that the South Park game was cool to me.
Right. Anyway, that's going to do it. Ben Pack, thanks for coming by. Thanks for being flexible and being able to show up on Monday night instead of Tuesday morning.
Yeah. I already took the day off work tomorrow, so I've got a whole day of nothing.
Nice. And thanks to my daughter for staying asleep the whole time. She's coughed a couple. I'm over here looking at her, and she'll occasionally cough, and I go, ooh, is she going to stand up and start screaming? I might have to run out of here. And but hopefully she wakes up feeling better and all that sort of stuff. But where can people find you? Where you on Blue Sky?
On Blue
Friday's
Sky.
coming up. You got your next picture all picked out, or
I'm working with some. I think I'm going to go really high concept with this one, kind of
okay,
like, an artistic take on it. I'm just like, I need to push the medium forward.
Yeah, I think it's about time.
Yeah, hit me up on Blue Sky and hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, all right. the two social networks. All right. Well, as for me, I am back here saying that my schedule is going to be all weird because, with the kids being sick and everything, I don't know how it's going to go. But we will rank Nintendo games at some point this week, and I'll probably stream something else, pending me figuring out something else to stream. I kind of just want to maybe stream some more Mario Wonder, get back into that or something. Maybe that'll be fun. Anyway, in the meantime, thanks everyone for listening to the podcast, and I'll be back next week with another podcast to do podcast things with. Bye. This is probably where I'll cut the video, but we're still technically broadcasting. I don't know if you want to say anything to the chat. I don't have the means to like stop the recording and then stay live.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say, everyone, it means a lot that you're saying you enjoy me and hi and all of that. But I am above you. I am on the stream. You are a worm, and you're in the dirt.
Wow. Yeah, I think it goes double for me. So, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, it's I kind of, so it's weird, man. Like I kind of got out of the because of just the scheduling stuff. Like I've mostly been streaming 8-bit Nintendo games because I'm attempting to rank them all.
Yeah.
And that's been so much fun. I keep meaning to bring this inside. Ben, I'm going to ask you this. I know you're not a full-fledged, but
this motherfucker.
Do you think it would be appropriate for me to start wearing this for the Nintendo stuff? I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, it depends if you're approaching these games with a scientific mind.
Of course I am.
Well, then I can't think of anything more appropriate.
Holy smokes. Crikey. Yeah. That's been sitting here for like the last 7 weeks. I'm like, I've been waffling on it. It's like, I should start wearing this for the Nintendo thing. I'm like,
There's still stuff from that office that I need to get my hands on.
Yeah. They even still, We're still live, by the way.
Yeah, no. I got people holding on to stuff for me that has just been waiting.
Yeah, I think Rory has some stuff for me and that he brought home. I think Danny might have the hentai hat.
Oh, yeah, because like, why would you bring like so much stuff is like, oh, what, like, why would I leave that there? And then remembering that like we left thinking that we were going to be gone for like a week or two.
Right. Yeah. And then, but I will say that when I went back into that office to get the stuff
Yeah.
that they had boxed up or whatever,
the
hentai had not been boxed up because I think it must have been in the studio or something, but also
it was in a special cube prison like they keep Magneto in.
But I think as I was getting my stuff and loading it into my car, I was like, I'm never coming back to this building ever again.
I kind of felt like I knew that when I went back for my stuff too.
Yeah. I was like, it's a wrap on this. Shut it the fuck down. Anyway. All right. I'm going to end the stream for real now. So I will probably have to do some night streaming here and there, as depending on how the kids do and when they get better and all that stuff. Come back sometime, Ben.
Yeah, I would love to. I really have fun here.
Yeah, I need to iron out this like having a guest thing to make it just ever so slightly smoother. And but I don't know, that seemed like it went mostly okay. The ad went fine, and like the few tech things I had to do seemed like they worked out okay. So I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Was it fucked? Was being muted scary? What?
No, it was liberating. I almost just screamed because I felt like I could, but I think my partner's asleep.
Fair enough. Yeah, the whole. That's why I'm out in the garage, because the whole house is asleep, and I didn't know if I would scream because I recorded the ad inside, and then as I was recording it kind of quietly, I saw my daughter start to squirm around, and I was like, oh, I can't. I gotta go set up in the garage quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's gonna do it for everybody. Have fun. I'll see you on stream soon, Ben. I'll see you soon. And when I click this button, I think, Ben, you'll still be here. So if you want to tell me anything disgusting, I'm gonna hit this button now. Bye.